Today we're talking to Rebecca Withers, the recruitment manager at Inson&Co. Thanks for talking to us today, Rebecca. And the subject today is law fairs. So I guess I'll just start by asking Rebecca, what are you trying to achieve when you turn up to a law fair? What's the aim of the game for Inson&Co?
When we go to a law fair, the primary thing that we want to achieve really is to meet the candidates and get some time to speak to them face to face, and for them to be able to speak to us face to face, to be able to ask any questions, for us to get to know them a bit better, and for them to really get an inside view of what it's like to work at Inson&Co.
How can a student make a good impression when they go and speak to you at a law fair? And do you ever remember people who you've spoken to at law fairs when you receive their applications?
Yes, very much so. We always take the names of people who've particularly impressed us. I think those that impress us the most are those who've prepared some questions in advance, perhaps done their background research into what we do as a firm, what our practice areas are, and have come really prepared and armed with some good questions to ask us about, what it's like to work at Inson&Co, what it's like to be a trainee, our practice areas, recent work that we've been involved in. That tends to impress us most.
So it's not advisable to turn up completely unprepared to a law fair. So how much do you expect students to know about Inson&Co in order to make a good impression?
Some candidates will know us from before and will have done some research, and we're always impressed by that. But equally we get some candidates who don't know us as a firm, and we are a little bit more niche than some of the full practice companies out there. So if they know a little bit about our practice areas, particularly if they have an interest in tort, litigation or contract law, then that's really helpful. And if they ask some good questions around those areas, they can impress us as well.
And I guess equally a really bad question can create quite a bad impression. Have you ever had any
Yes.
really horrible examples of bad questions that you've been asked at a law fair?
We do sometimes get bad questions, and you're right, that can work in the exact opposite way. We have been asked at a law fair before if Inson&Co does law. We've also been asked by a candidate whether we have a swimming pool within our office, which perhaps is not the best way to impress us. It's not the most insightful question that you could ask. I think though one of the most important things is if a candidate asks questions, to really listen to the responses, engage with the people that you're talking to, be it us in HR or be it with the trainees. Ask some good questions, listen to the responses and really interact and engage with us. That will definitely impress.
Do you bring trainees or other solicitors along to law fairs as well?
We tend to take trainees, so a couple of people from HR as well, and possibly some newly qualified trainees. I think one of the best things to do is taking the trainees along so that they can give candidates a really good idea of what it's like to work as a trainee and to do your training contract with the firm. We also take HR so that they can answer any questions on applications, interview process, and how best to go about the whole application process.
And finally, law firms are a good opportunity for candidates to consider whether they're going to be a good fit for the firm and its culture. So how should a candidate go about gauging that appropriately in a conversation?
I've seen some really good examples of insightful questions that they can ask. I think particularly asking the trainees what they've been involved in terms of the work they've done during the training contract, how they've found it to work at Inson&Co, what they've got involved with on the social side, perhaps the sporting activities as well, can all give a really good insight into the culture of the firm. I think the individuals we tend to take along, we always tell them to be honest in their feedback and to give a really good, honest insight into what it's like to work at Inson&Co.
Oh, brilliant. That's some great advice to bear in mind. Thanks so much for talking to us today, Rebecca.